the modern dating world, one tactic stands out as both powerful and misunderstood: ignoring a woman. While it's often seen as cruel or manipulative, when done right, it's a tool that can shift the dynamic in a relationship and make a woman reevaluate her feelings and the relationship itself. Men often get trapped in the cycle of constant validation, texting, and being available at all times, thinking that this is the way to keep a woman interested. However, nothing makes a woman more aware of your value than stepping back and letting her experience your absence. Ignoring a woman doesn't mean disappearing completely or being disrespectful. It means removing yourself from the constant flow of communication and availability. It forces her to experience the impact of your absence, which can trigger a deeper level of interest, attraction, and longing. The act of ignoring a woman taps into some of the darker aspects of human psychology, specifically how people perceive value, chase, and desire. When you withdraw, you create a vacuum that draws her back in. But it's not just about playing mind games or trying to manipulate her emotions. Ignoring a woman in a calculated and strategic way forces her to confront her feelings. It creates space for her to miss you, wonder about you, and eventually seek you out. In this video, we will break down the psychology behind this tactic, showing how and why it works when used correctly, and how to execute it in a way that drives attraction and not resentment. Understanding this psychological shift is key to mastering attraction in today's dating world, where everything seems to move at a fast pace. So, let's dive into the subtle art of ignoring a woman and uncover the darker psychology that makes it so effective. The power of absence 1. The power of absence. Ignoring a woman is not about being cruel or distant for the sake of it. It's about strategically stepping back and giving her the space to feel your absence. When you're constantly available, you reduce your value in her eyes. You become too easy to access, too predictable, and eventually too boring. People naturally crave what they can't have or what they don't have easy access to. This is where the power of absence comes in. When you pull away, even for a short period, it's like hitting the reset button. She starts to notice that you're no longer responding to her texts immediately, not making yourself available for every conversation, or not always agreeing to her demands. This shift is noticeable because it disrupts the pattern she's used to. Suddenly, the usual you that's always there when she needs attention is gone. That absence creates a void that makes her wonder where you are, what you're doing, and why you're not engaging as much. Absence forces a woman to start thinking. She may feel a slight panic at first, questioning why you've become less available. This sparks an emotional reaction. The key is to give just enough space to make her realize she's missing out on your presence without completely ghosting her. When done correctly, this emotional gap makes her subconsciously start craving your attention more than triggering emotional reactivity before. 2. Triggering emotional reactivity. When you strategically ignore a woman, you're not just creating physical space, you're triggering a psychological and emotional response. The moment you withdraw, even briefly, it throws off her emotional balance. She was used to your presence, your attention, your engagement. Without it, she's left to figure out what's going on inside her mind and heart. Her emotions start to take over, and this is where the real power of this tactic comes into play. Most people, men and women alike, do not handle emotional uncertainty well. Humans crave stability and predictability. And when something shifts, it triggers an emotional response. For a woman, the absence of attention, especially when it's from someone she values, forces her to confront her feelings. She might initially feel confused or even frustrated. Why is he pulling away? What happened? Did I do something wrong? In the process of seeking answers, she becomes more emotionally invested. When you're always present, she doesn't have to think about you much. But when you withdraw your attention, she starts to process her emotions. What was once comfortable now feels out of place, and she can't help but wonder if she's losing something important. That emotional reactivity, that need to understand and fill in the gaps, drives her to reach out, to reconnect, or to do whatever she can to restore the emotional stability she had with you. This emotional push and pull is a natural human reaction to the lack of certainty. It's a cycle of wanting, followed by doubt, and then a craving to know more. The lack of your presence creates a void that forces her to pay more attention to her emotions. She becomes more reactive, seeking validation, reassurance, or a reconnection with you. All of this leads her to become more focused on you than she was when you were always available. It's important to note that this emotional reactivity doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't mean she's going to cry or demand explanations. It's subtle but powerful. The more you withdraw, the more she feels the need to find out where you stand. It's that emotional imbalance, the sense that something is off, that makes her turn inward and then outward, wanting answers. She becomes more attuned to your behavior, looking for any sign that you still care or that things are still okay between the two of you. What you're essentially doing is using her emotions to draw her closer. You're creating a scenario where she's mentally and emotionally engaged with you because of the uncertainty you've introduced. That emotional investment is what makes her crave your attention, your presence, and ultimately you. 3. The power of rejection and the fear of loss, rejection, and the fear of loss. Ignoring a woman taps into one of the most primal emotions, the fear of loss. When you begin to pull away, even just a little, you trigger the fear of rejection in her mind. This fear can create an intense desire to reconnect with you because it stirs her instincts to avoid losing something she values. Women, like all humans, fear loss. The thought of losing someone they have formed an emotional bond with can lead to a heightened sense of neediness or urgency. When you withdraw, you may not even realize it, but you're playing into a fundamental aspect of human nature, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being able to have something that they once had access to. In the context of a relationship, this manifests as a strong desire to avoid rejection. A woman may start to feel rejected when you no longer initiate contact or respond immediately to her texts. In her mind, that rejection signals a possible loss, and the more she feels she's losing something valuable, the more she'll pursue it. The fear of loss is a powerful motivator, and when you trigger this fear in her, her actions will follow. She may find herself becoming more clingy, seeking more of your attention, or even doing things she didn't do before to win you back. The psychological effect of feeling rejected, even mildly, can be overwhelming. It's what leads her to question her value in the relationship, and in turn, her efforts to restore the emotional connection between you two intensify. One thing men often fail to realize is that women, no matter how independent or emotionally strong they seem, are deeply wired to protect what they value, When you withhold attention, it is perceived as a form of emotional rejection. And this fear of losing your affection, attention, or love can make her want to prove her worth to you. It's not just about getting back the man who pulled away. It's about preserving something she fears losing. 4. The psychological impact of uncertainty. Psychological impact of uncertainty. Uncertainty is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology, and it plays a huge role in relationships. When you ignore a woman, you introduce uncertainty into her world. Uncertainty makes people anxious, and in relationships, it's a huge emotional trigger. The moment she feels unsure about where she stands with you or whether you still care, her mind starts racing. She may find herself thinking about you more than ever, questioning whether she's done something wrong or if something has changed. Uncertainty doesn't just sit quietly. It causes emotional discomfort. People don't like not knowing. In fact, most people would rather have an answer, even if it's a negative one, than be left hanging. Ignoring a woman creates this exact dynamic. Suddenly, she's unsure of your intentions, unsure if you're losing interest, or if there's another reason for your silence. This emotional discomfort pushes her into a reactive state. She starts to analyze your behavior, trying to decode your silence and figure out what it all means. This process, this constant internal questioning, makes her emotionally invested in finding out what's really going on. The mind doesn't like gaps in information. It fills them with speculation, often leading to overthinking and, in many cases, longing. The more uncertain she is, the more likely she is to initiate contact, trying to break the silence and get answers. This creates an emotional dependency, where she feels the need to close that gap of uncertainty by reconnecting with you. By not giving her immediate answers, you essentially create a situation where she's forced to confront her emotions and fears. This is not manipulation, it's simply how the mind works. The unknown is uncomfortable, and in relationships, the unknown often leads to the desire to resolve the discomfort by taking action. She doesn't want to sit in the emotional void. She wants closure. She wants to know if you still care. The uncertainty you've introduced is what motivates her to reach out, to reestablish contact, and ultimately to pursue you more actively. What this tactic does is force her to become emotionally dependent on the idea of you. The more she feels uncertain, the more she's driven to resolve that uncertainty. The psychological need for closure is one of the strongest forces in the human mind. You don't have to chase her or beg for her attention. You don't need to explain yourself. You simply allow the uncertainty to sit long enough for her to feel compelled to reach out and resolve it. And when she does, she's doing so because the emotional discomfort has grown too strong to ignore. By making her uncertain about your intentions and feelings, you create a psychological tension that pulls her back into your orbit. She becomes motivated to remove that emotional uncertainty by taking action, which often means coming back to you, seeking clarity, and reaffirming the connection. The reversal of roles. She starts chasing you. 5. The reversal of roles. She starts chasing you. One of the most significant and often unrecognized effects of ignoring a woman is the reversal of roles in the dynamic. As a man, you might be used to chasing her, initiating conversations, making the effort to keep the relationship alive. But by pulling back, you subtly shift the power dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one chasing you. This shift is a natural consequence of you stepping away. When you're always available and constantly engaging with her, you inadvertently position yourself as the pursuer. You become the one seeking her attention, validation, and affection. But when you stop pursuing and instead start focusing on your own life, your own goals, and your own needs, you send a powerful message. You are not desperate for her attention. You are content without it. This change in behavior forces her to switch gears and begin pursuing you. At first, this shift may be subtle. She might start texting you more, initiating contact when she didn't before, or making an extra effort to arrange plans with you. As her desire grows, so does the effort she's willing to put in. You're no longer the one doing the heavy lifting. She begins to do the chasing, and this is often where the magic happens. When a woman has to pursue a man, the dynamics of the relationship change dramatically. Why does this happen? It's simple. People generally want what they can't easily have. This concept, often referred to as the chase, is deeply rooted in human nature. When you stop making yourself so available, she starts to see you as a challenge, someone who doesn't need her validation, but who offers something she must work for. In this process, you become more attractive. The very act of withdrawing your attention makes you stand out. The more you pull away, the more she wonders what it would be like to be with you again, to reestablish that connection. The reason why this works so well is that it taps into the core of human attraction. 6. The scarcity principle. The scarcity principle and its effect on attraction and its effect on attraction. The scarcity principle is one of the most effective psychological tools when it comes to dating. It's simple. When something is perceived as scarce or hard to get, its value increases. This is human nature. People tend to place more value on things that are rare or difficult to attain. When you ignore a woman or step back, you create a sense of scarcity in the relationship. You stop being as easily available, and that creates a vacuum that she will instinctively want to fill. When you're always around, always engaging with her, always available for the next conversation, she gets used to it. Your presence becomes a given. She might still enjoy your company, but she begins to take it for granted. However, when you step back and withhold your attention, the situation shifts. She starts to feel that something is missing, and her desire to connect with you intensifies. This is because your presence is no longer guaranteed, and that unpredictability makes her want to chase what she can't have: your attention, your time, and your affection. This principle plays out in everyday life. Think about any time you've wanted something that was difficult to get. Whether it was a rare item, a special event, or even a promotion at work. The harder it is to obtain, the more effort you put into acquiring it. The same dynamic applies to relationships. When a woman realizes that you're no longer at her beck and call, she will begin to invest more time and energy into getting your attention, proving her worth, or simply finding out what happened to you. Scarcity increases value, and this is a powerful tactic in the world of dating. The more you pull away, the more she starts to see you as something rare, something that is not easily obtainable. And as she starts to see you this way, her attraction to you grows. The space you create makes her realize just how much she wants to be around you. 7. The importance of confidence and self-value. The importance of confidence and self will value you. When you decide to ignore a woman and give her space, One of the underlying elements that make this tactic so effective is your confidence and sense of self-value. The act of stepping back from constant communication and emotional availability isn't just about playing games. It's about showing that you have a strong sense of your own worth. Confidence is one of the most attractive traits a man can possess. And when you pull away without hesitation, it signals that you know your value and you won't settle for less than you deserve. A man who understands his value doesn't chase after validation or approval from anyone, including a woman. When you pull back, you're essentially telling her that you're fine without her attention, that your life doesn't revolve around her. This signals to her that you have a strong sense of self and that your emotional well-being is not dependent on her presence. Women find this type of confidence incredibly attractive because it demonstrates that you're not desperate, needy, or clingy. You have your own life, your own passions, and your own goals, and you're not willing to compromise them just to seek approval or affection from her. This sense of self-value is what makes the act of ignoring her powerful. It shows that you're not trying to manipulate her or play games. You're simply showing up as your best self, doing what you want to do, and not allowing yourself to be tied down by anyone else's needs or expectations. By creating space, you're teaching her to respect your time, your energy, and your emotional investment. You're not willing to be a backup or a convenience. You are someone who adds value to her life, and she should appreciate that. Confidence in your own worth also makes her see you as a leader. People naturally respect individuals who know their own worth and aren't afraid to assert it. By pulling away, you're leading the relationship dynamic rather than following. This shift in the power dynamic often makes her see you as a more attractive and compelling partner. It challenges her to meet your standards and earn your attention rather than expecting it to be given freely. She starts to recognize that you have boundaries and a sense of direction, and this only increases your value in her eyes. In many ways, ignoring a woman is a reflection of your internal strength. It shows that you don't need her to validate your self-worth. Ignoring a woman strategically is about creating space, triggering emotional responses, and flipping the dynamic of pursuit in a way that makes her see your value more clearly. Conclusion: ignoring a woman strategically is about creating space, triggering emotional responses, and flipping the dynamic of pursuit in a way that makes her see your value more clearly. The power of absence, emotional reactivity, the fear of loss, and psychological uncertainty all work together to increase her attraction and desire. When you step back, you're not just playing games. You're showing confidence and self-worth. This allows her to chase you, making her invest more emotionally and ultimately creating a stronger, more balanced connection. When used correctly, giving distance isn't just about absence. It's about building attraction through psychological principles that lead to deeper respect and stronger desire.